Hey you guys, thanks for joining us for episode 5. We've got Bill back in the house. As I mentioned last time, I had to pre-record it, kind of messed everything up because I never go out of town, and then when I do, I really go out for quite a while. But Bill, how are you doing? It's good to see you again.
I would say, how am I doing? We're still in the end of February, and here in Ohio, it's currently 34 degrees. So I've been crying quite a bit, but thankfully it's going to be warming up this weekend. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, here the past weekend when I was gone, it was really nice weather, and then today the storm is like blowing back in. I'm like, well, thank you God that you had really nice weather. I was in shorts in the mountains, like, wow, this is awesome. And then I'm like, but really, we have to come back to rain, like, oh. And I had mentioned to you that when we first got on to record your podcast, it felt like we hadn't talked for like 2 or 3 months, which is,
I
I think,
know.
because when we do talk once a week, for the most part, we talk for like 2.5 hours on average.
I've noticed
So
that.
like
Yeah.
to skip that, I'm like, we've missed so much of each other's
Yeah.
lives. And I'm like, Michael, it was a week. Like, how much can happen in a
No,
week
no.
that you miss?
Technically, it was two
Or
weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah,
Yeah.
2 weeks. Yeah, because we missed the week. Wow.
Yeah.
Man. Well, what have you been working then in those 2 weeks? How have things been going with your Romans course, your projects within that?
Well, it's not going as quick as I would like it to go. It's usually how it works, but I think I got just basing it off of memory. I think I have the first 3 lessons recorded. So, which is kind of a disappointment because I was looking over some notes that I like typed up and saved for later. Like if I want to go this, like I'm going direction A, and we'll save this in case I want to go to direction B. And so I was looking at direction B notes just the other day, and I was like, oh man, if I would have went direction B, it would have made things a lot easier. So I was like, you know what, we're already started it. Let's just keep on with option A and press forward. I can always change things later. It's not that big of a deal, but yeah, I mean that's good. I would, like I said, I want to try to get it done by the end of March, but it's probably going to be more like January, February, March, April, something when that happens.
Yeah. And do you have any other side projects you're working on? Because as people like you probably know, if you're a small business owner or entrepreneur, there's always so much going on. And I
Yes.
know you in particular are like, ooh, this sounds like so, so exciting,
Yeah.
so cool. So is there anything else that is like hidden, or you're like, I shouldn't be doing this, but it's super fun?
I shouldn't be doing this. No, but it's super fun. Well, I don't even know. I'm getting confused with so many recordings that we're doing. 3D printing, I got that going on, making up a little kit for a friend of mine. So, I mean, that's cool. It's almost done. I'm just currently looking at the blocks. I got to paint them up and everything before I can send them to a friend of mine. But as far as the 3D printing thing goes, I mean, there's a couple things just for fun. I don't have any purpose for it, but I want to make a pirate ship. I have a pirate ship that I got when I was at the
In
beach.
your backyard?
No, it's I don't know if you can. I don't know
We
where it's
see
at.
Baby Yoda.
Oh yeah, it's way over here. It's black, so you
Oh,
can't
yeah.
really see it. But yeah, I got that at the beach last year. It's like I've never had a pirate ship. I'm getting a pirate ship. But I've been wanting to make one actually on my printer, and then I want to make a model of the church that I'm at, and eventually it's not going to be anytime soon, but get to working on a model of first century Jerusalem. So, which is a big project. I've got some pieces done, but there's a lot more to do.
You're like, this is when it got destroyed. So it's just a bunch of
Yeah,
rubble.
yeah. There
You
go.
can't get to it. You're like, that's when God
Technically,
wiped them off.
70 A.D. is the first century. So I could do that.
Which, if you don't know Bible history, you're just like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
But that was very common of like, really in this society, like, you go in, you destroy them, you take them down, you kill everything, you burn it down to the ground.
Yeah.
Like, there goes a whole civilization. Okay.
Maybe I should do that instead of actually trying to make these buildings and everything. I'll just make the border, and then I don't know, put some ash and sticks in there, and be like, yep, there's Jerusalem for you. So
Yeah, I think for myself, the most exciting thing, which I didn't even tell you yet, because it's still like in the works, but as I mentioned, like I've interviewed a lot of people and I have a ton of episodes to edit. I don't like the editing, but I was looking into like how much does it cost to get an editor, and the average is around $50 an episode. Like 30 to 40 is good, but some of the higher end companies were like around 50, 60, even more. A Google is like anywhere from this to 1,000 or 1,500. I'm like, okay, who are you in? Like, what kind of podcast production is that? Because that's way too much money.
Right.
But I was like, I don't think I can pay for that yet. I don't know if I want to do that yet. But I don't know if I was like actually praying for it, but it's definitely been like in my mind of like, I know I need to do this. Like that's kind of my next step with the business. And so someone that I went on the trip with, he was in my carpool. I actually know him. I'm friends with him. And then we were in the small group after the young adult group on Monday. And he was asking more about what I was doing. And then he's done like audio visual work at a previous church he was at. And he's like, yeah, well, if you need any help with editing. And I'm like, I actually do.
Yeah.
Like, and I told someone on the trip, one of the worship leader was on there. I'm like, I eventually want to get someone from this young adult group who has the same, basically they're Christian and conservative.
Right.
Just to lay it out flat, like, and someone I know in person, because for something like this, like it's already scary to give someone like, here's not just me, like if you mess up with me, that's fine. But this is someone else who is like, it's a big deal for them to be on the show. And like, as the show grows, it's, I don't know, just very scary to have all control and then be like, here's like the biggest part of my business right now. Like the only thing I really have going at the moment. But I've also felt like God was somebody like, I just brought you the person like right here, like without actually knowing what was happening. I was like, I think we're going forward with this. So then I like sent him, I couldn't fall asleep that night. Like my mind was just going because I was also, it looks like I'm going to help maybe run events or help with the event planning for the young adults. So I had like a camping trip that I'm going to help plan to, like we could do monthly event meetups, and then I'm going to bring Jesse as his name. We're going to test out an episode, see if he can do it, and like bring him on. And then I've never brought on an independent contractor before. So I'm like, what do I have to do for that? So everything like past midnight by the time I fell asleep, and I was like, I hate that because when I'm in bed, like I want to sleep. I want to go to sleep. But also like it's very exciting because haven't felt that in a long time of like, I can actually do something. And then it looks like it'll probably be about $40 an episode is what I can afford at the moment.
Right.
So I'm going to use my dog walking money. But it seems like if everything goes well with that, then I will have an editor, because after next week, I'll have like 21 episodes that need to be edited. So when you put it like that, I'm like, Michael, are you going to spend that much time going through 20 episodes? I'm like, that'll get us to summer, like at least almost summer by that point once they're scheduled out. So I think that's the most exciting thing, where I'm like, even today after we finish talking, I'm like, tomorrow I'm going to have time to do something, because if it goes through, I'm fairly certain it will, but if it doesn't, I'm like, oh, I just talk to people and then I work on the business, which has been like a pain point for me. It's like I'm working in the business constantly, but the momentum I had at the beginning of the year, gone.
Yeah. And right now it's primarily just you before this guy comes in, right?
Yeah. He's the first one that I will have worked with. So a lady named Kristen, who I worked with at my previous job, she kind of took over the emailing. She edited that new digital book that I came out with that no one signed up for. So I have worked with her, but I didn't get to like giving her a contract and like bringing her on as an independent contractor. So kind of like yes and no. I've worked with her, but it was like I'm going to pay you as a friend doing it. And so like this first episode, I'm going to do it like that. Like, you're just my buddy. We're testing this out. And then if that goes well, I have the W-9 ready to go. I found like the one time I will use another site of like, I think it's Rocket Lawyer. They have ones where they have contracts for independent contractors.
I think it's Rocket Lawyer. I've looked at them.
Type in your information, their information. So that to me is exciting. I've done that at my old job, where when we onboarded, you get them to fill out the W-9, a contract right away.
Right.
And then if they make over $600, then you have to send them a 1099 come tax season. And I did the math. It's like he'll be getting around 800 just from that. So I'm like, basically, yeah, you will need a 1099. So I'll have to figure that out too. So it's weird because you have to put money in to then see a benefit from it, and I'm people are like, are the guests paying you? No. Is your podcast making money? No. So like, it sounds really stupid to say that, but it's one of those things you have to do eventually.
Yeah, and that's the kicker with starting everything. I mean, we're not making too much on what I'm doing. Well, no, not making too much, not making anything. But I take that back. I got a friend helping to support it, so there's like $5 there, so I'm okay with that, right? But yeah, I mean that's the big challenge is I mean, yeah, there's a lot of free options out there to do whatever you need to do, but I mean you want to make it look as official as possible. So I mean you got to spend a little bit of money in order to do that, and then from there, grow in various different ways. But I mean, I got to say congratulations for getting that gentleman for your partnership, because I mean I know how much of a relief just getting one person on is. I mean, you joining up with our podcast is awesome. I think my first number one, or not even the word I want to use, first person that partnered is a friend of mine from the Philippines, which I mentioned to you, helps with the website. So that was a huge relief there. And then I got another friend who's helping to post various things on our Facebook page, just to kind of help add some variety. So it's really nice, really hard. I mean, there's not much guidance or leadership going on right now because there's not a lot going on right now, but just having that additional person involved is like, that's one less thing I got to do. So
yeah, and I think it's cool getting to see, because when I worked in the startup, they got to do things how they wanted. And when you have your own business, you can as well. But when it's just you, you're like, I have to do this because I am the only one. Yeah. But then once you look at getting help, like you're still going to have to pay for it, or usually it's a trade-off. Like there's other ways where you don't explicitly have to pay them, but you get to choose the person. You can look in your own social circles, find people that you can help them. And like, I think that to me is the most exciting. Like the woman I worked with who's going to be like editing my future works, and like, man, I can help support her and like give money to her and her family. And like this guy is kind of college age, but still kind of figuring out like, what does he want to do? He's working on animations, which made sense to me. I'm like, you're already on your computer like all day long. Yeah. You don't have a problem sitting, because I wanted someone who didn't have a full-time job necessarily yet, because I don't want it to be a burden, like it's a burden for me. I don't want to give it to someone else and be like, you're getting $40, which is good, but also like it's a lot of sitting, like click, move, click,
right,
move,
yeah. Click, it takes move. About like so, good 2 hours to edit an hour, clip.
Yeah,
or whatever,
maybe not quite that long, but yeah, like emotionally and mentally, it feels like that.
That's true, yeah.
But I think that for me is the coolest thing, to be like, man, once you have stuff that you can be running around and doing, like you can make decisions much quicker. Because even where you're working your full-time job, like if something new needs to happen, it's like, okay, let's start with this person, move it up to this person, and then maybe by next year we'll implement. And I don't, it's just speaking generally, because I don't exactly know how your workplace is, but like that idea of like big businesses take a long time to get anything done.
Yeah, I'll tell you a running joke we've got around there. Because it's a factory, and we use, like, to get cables that are hanging down, which they have to hang down from the ceiling for various machines. But to get those out of the way, we take twine and tie it to the end of the plug, and just pull that twine over to the wall and tie it over, just to get it out of the way from swinging. And then another one we use is a lot of electrical tape, just to kind of hold stuff down, it's loose or whatever it is. I mean, it's not like we're putting a piece of gum on on the beaver dam that's cracked or anything, but just minor stuff. So we have that joke. It's like, just grab some string and tape, and we'll be good.
Yeah, man. And I'd love to know, as you're looking at a lot of the different tools, so it's a little different than we've gone before, but like being a business owner and looking at all the different either software, equipment, things that you use in your daily life, what, for someone listening who is going to get started, would you suggest, like, man, this has been like a program or something that's really helped as you've been like working directly in your business or building it up?
Yeah, I think, I would say probably a first program would get some sort of project manager. The one we have going on, which we haven't used too much because there hasn't really been the flow and content that needed to be created, but Trello, and I think Monday is another one, but some sort of project managing platform, so that way you can keep track of the to-do list. And if you have a team, my personal recommendation is, if you can, get at least one more person to help you get started, but use something like that, a project manager, to help you keep track of a list. I mean, if an idea comes to your mind, I have the Trello app on my phone as an example. You can just open up the app, type, submit. Your idea's there. You can get to it in another month or two. So something like that, I think, would be a very helpful tool for small businesses, getting started.
Yeah, I think we actually thought of using that at the startup I was at. It's like you can kind of like swipe a timeline, right? Like you can make it bigger or smaller, add different sticky notes, pictures, notes all over. Is it that one?
Kind of. Trello it has like they call them cards. It's just like a little square piece with a text headline, and then you click it to open up the details of it. But yeah, you can take it from one column, like your to-do list. You can title the columns however you want, but future ideas, title, to-dos, and done, whatever it else. And you can take those little cards and move them over to these other columns. Very easy. So yeah, I guess it would be kind of like a whole sticky note forum board or something like that.
Yeah, that's good to know, because I know a lot of small business owners on the podcast also mentioned that too. Like, you need to have a list. You need to have a thing, a way to know what you're getting done and to keep you to it, because I could spend all of tomorrow, like, technically not meeting. Like, I don't schedule calls on Friday. And I'm like, But I do have grocery shopping, laundry, cleaning. Like, I have stuff to do, but can very easily turn into, like, I don't get anything done for the business when I'm like, Michael, someone is going to be helping you so that you can actually work more on the business. So, like, take advantage, make a list, and, like, get stuff done.
Yeah, and that's a challenge for myself, because I like notebooks. I always buy, every time I have an idea for something, I get a notebook. And then, so I've got like
so you probably have rooms filled with notebooks
or something like that.
You're a man with many ideas.
Yeah, and then I realized, like, after I've bought these like 4 or 5 notebooks, I was like, I've got too many notebooks. I'm throwing this one away. I mean, they're only $1 at the store, so I was like, and then a couple months later, I need to get another notebook because I have another idea. So, don't be as organized as I am, because you're going to have notebooks everywhere. You're going to have them in the trash. You're going to go get more and so on. But I would say at least one notebook, maybe a binder. That way you can actually have the quote-unquote notebooks all in separate little categories. But I'm also 34, almost 35, and I'm kind of old school with that. So,
Awesome. Yeah, for myself, just recently in the last probably month, I started using something called Zoho Desk. And this is like a customer relationship manager. They actually have a different mail app. So this is supposed to be like if you're doing customer service for a company, but I like to use it just for email. Basically, you forward your Gmail, you set up the forwarding, so anything that comes into your Gmail gets shot over to there. And for me, that's really helpful because you don't forget about emails. If you don't, like when you're starting, because I've been in the business like over 2 years, and I've been waiting for the day to have enough emails where I'm like, I want to feel like I'm falling behind so that I can get this program. Because in my last job, I had that and it was so fun and like really nice. But I think that is something, it's a little later on in your journey. So like what Bill said is great as you're getting started, even like jumping into it, of like getting organized. And then I know at least if you have a product-based one where you're selling stuff and like people are reaching out with concerns, questions, give me refunds, your Gmail, if we're just going with that service, it gets out of hand really easily and you forget people, and then they're mad because you deliberately are not responding. You're like, dude, no, you're just way down, and like they structure things so weird. So that for me, even though I am paying, I like doing a paid version so that I can use their canned response snippets is what they call them. Just even at the base level, I know they have like a free version for people to test it out. For me, that is like, oh, it's so nice because customer service is a huge thing. And for me, I'm mostly like communicating with business owners that are coming on to the show. So I think eventually it'll be more of the customer side of things. But for me, it's good to make sure I don't forget about people.
Right.
Because I need to stay on top of it to make sure we get to the call and then follow up from there.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe finally to just close us out, maybe put the 2 in 1. What are you going to be working on in this next week? And then close with some encouragement.
I think the biggest question is, what will I not be working on? I'm going to be on Romans for quite a few, at least another month and a half, give or take. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to refine it a little bit, but I also want to try to make it as detailed because it's a course that I'm doing, and I want to make sure the information's there, and having a whole questionnaire, like a quiz. So that way customer, user, student, whatever you want to go with, has an understanding and can challenge themselves. But that's one of the things I'm working on, and I've kind of been debating. I was thinking about starting to prepare for the next course, so that way.
There it is. Remember I said, what's that? What's that
always,
other thing? It came up just like 10 minutes
something.
later.
So I guess, words of encouragement within that, I would say keep pressing on. Or if you've watched them, I've watched it years ago, and I don't even think it's not even appropriate, but the phrase everybody should know: keep on keeping on. Keep pressing on, because there's just you got like 50 million things on your list, but you get one done, and that's nice. So. And that's one less off your list. I mean, that's really the biggest thing. That's what's keeping me going, is that's one less we got to deal with the future. So maybe get into that mindset is, this is done, so we don't have to deal with this a year from now. So that's
awesome.
my thoughts.
For myself, we'll be following along with this new guy to see, like, is it going to work? I think the hard thing is I need to listen through the first one. And, like, if I need to send notes, I can send that. But then hopefully get things up and running real fast. But I found out that there are not a lot of resources on how to bring on an independent contractor. There's so many videos of, like, here's an employee versus a contractor. I'm like, I know all of that. I know all of this. And then they're like, use this service. I'm like, I want to know the old-fashioned way. Send me to the IRS. I will download it. Send me to this, and I get it for free. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of like, I'm not going to make the content now, but, like, what can I make as I'm learning this to then help other people? Because
right.
I think that's kind of the encouragement I would say is, like, everyone who is saying, like, you need to bring on people, you need to pay to get a return. It's not always when you first start out. Like, mine being over 2 years into the business, it's taken up until now to where I'm like, I wouldn't even say gaining traction. I just had a successful ad. It brought in a lot of people, but that it isn't always right away. But then when it comes in, knowing, like, it's okay to jump into that of, like, do I want to be spending more money? No, because I'm not making money. But then I can get excited about what can I do with that time to help move the business forward.
Yeah.
So I think that is kind of, like, encouraging to know. And, like, why I think these are important for people to see, like, man, Bill has been able to bring on people to help in various areas. And, like, now we're working together with this podcast, and, like, he's helping me with this YouTube show. I'm helping him with a YouTube show on his end. And, like, when they say, like, it's better to do life together, like, it sounds so cheesy, but I think that it's really true. Like, you need to have people to come along. And as a small business owner, that's hard because you don't know when to do that or how to do that, but it comes eventually, right?
Yeah. And that's going to be the challenge there too. And I'm going to have to deal with this as well, is because you bring somebody on to do something for you, and, like, no, don't worry about it. Then let me do it. I mean, yeah, you got to give some slack there, and I'm saying this to myself as well, is to let the person learn, be like, direct is like, here, this is what I want, A, B, C, 1, 2, and 3, and show me what you got, and then okay, now that you've got it out, let's kind of tweak it. Let me teach you training. I mean, we got to do that with everybody in a new job, is to train them. This is how we do it. This is how we want it to be done, and so on. So. It's not always easy, especially when you know how things go, when you know the right way, the perfect way. But it's the only way any business, any person, anything can grow. It's really good.
I also had the thought of, like, just, like, thinking way too far ahead, but I tend to do that. I'm like, if he does this now, I might get rusty on my editing skills. And that was a good skill I had, because seeing, like, when I at my old job took over the boss's skill that they hired me to do, then when she was like, oh, I can jump in, I'm like, no, because I'm much better. And not even being, like, full of myself, but, like, I have a system down and this is what works for this business.
Right.
So then I was like, Michael, you're giving up this talent in your life, which is fine because I don't even like doing it.
And that's how it was with me for the website, is because, I mean, I originally started, I built the whole thing myself, and then to have this friend of mine come on and do it. Now, I mean, I feel like I even went to school and learned how to make websites. So, but I'm at the point where I'm like, getting to the point where I'm rusty, and I feel like I'm turning into a guy that's going to be finding some other young, quote unquote, whippersnapper to do it for me.
Yeah, which that's how it goes, right?
Yeah.
All these successful people, they just have teams that do everything, and
Yeah.
you just keep the vision going. So
Right.
as long as it's there, it should be
Yep.
good. But awesome. Well, thanks so much, Bill, for being here with us. Maybe just give us a goodbye. I don't know. I was going to say final
Bye.
thoughts, but yeah, we'll leave it like that.
Take care.
See ya.